Now, lots of things were going through my mind today and tonight, and I've decided to do something a little different. I'm just going to share kind of my feelings and my thoughts on this day. Now, I've been part of the conservative movement since really the mid-1980s when I was in college. And I have never, ever seen the American people respond to a candidate with such an outpouring of affection as they do for Donald Trump, for the First Lady, and for his entire family.
Don't say that, I'll start to cry, and that wouldn't be good for my image.
The first Trump rally that I ever attended was 2 nights before the last election in 2016 in the fairgrounds at Leesburg, Virginia. Now, this was an event that was, I guess it was thrown together kind of at the last minute. And it was the last stop in a 5-state, 1-day swing for the campaign. Now, not many people thought that Donald Trump would win back then, especially in the increasingly liberal Commonwealth of Virginia. But nevertheless, they came out. And I'm talking thousands and thousands of people waited hours and hours. They were trudging through this very cold night over this dirt road to get to this fairgrounds when they knew only, I think, about 2,000 people could get into the little pavilion that was there. And they waited until midnight when Donald Trump finally arrived. And I've never seen anything like it. I knew that night that he would win. I said so. And I knew it was something very special. Those people in Virginia back then, they were making a statement, taking a stand for the country they loved. Now, the president, he's never gotten much credit for how much love and how much admiration he's inspired among his millions of supporters. And I think sometimes we all get wrapped up in what I do for a living. So you get wrapped up in watching every moment of cable television or reading every tweet or everything on social media. And you would think that to read some of this, that Donald Trump has only triggered anger and resentment, especially over the last 6 months. But for millions of us, millions of you, he's been a champion for the middle class. He's been a champion for working families like the family I came from in New England. And those people hadn't seen much of a real wage increase since about the year 2000. And then Trump came along. You see, for about 30 years, conservatives were promised so much by so many politicians, and too many of them just failed to deliver. But on issue after issue, he has delivered, whether we're talking about fighting for the steel workers in Pennsylvania or taking on China and trade negotiations or enforcing the border, bringing our troops home, fighting for peace in the Middle East, been nominated for 3 Nobel Prizes, and standing up for life. He's already achieved an enormous amount for us, and he says he's just getting started. The idea in the end, right, behind this thought, this understanding of democracy, is that voters, through elections, can actually make a difference. They can change policy. And Trump's America First agenda did change policy, and it's a real threat. It's a threat to the globalists who've amassed enormous power and fortunes on the backs of the American workers. Many of those people who are opposing Trump today, the really wealthy ones, the real connected ones, they've bet big on China. And so naturally, they're fiercely fighting against Trump's reelection. Yet the president's undeterred. You think about how much he's endured in the 5 years since he came down that golden escalator announcing his presidential run. He's come under investigation. He's been unlawfully surveilled. They impeached him. They tried to convict him. He's been accused of pretty much everything from treason to racism to fascism to xenophobia. And this is someone I've known for 20 years. And I'll tell you, none of it is true. None of it. He and his family have been vindicated time and time again, while his accusers have never been held to account for the lies and the false charges they keep leveling. Yet despite all this, despite all that he's gone through, and now, of course, as a positive COVID patient, he's never stopped working day and night to achieve a stronger, more prosperous, more secure America for millions and millions of you who thought you had been left behind. So watching Donald Trump walk to Marine One tonight on the way to Walter Reed, it was very emotional for so many of us who've seen him as, the indispensable man in the fight for us to maintain our freedoms and our way of life. And I know President Trump isn't Catholic, but in our faith, today is the Feast of Guardian Angels. It's an important feast day, and I know that the faithful all across America are praying fervently for his speedy recovery, and those angels are watching over him tonight. So while you're recovering, Mr. President, don't worry. We'll take up the slack, because you fought for us, and do not fear for a moment, because now we're going to fight for you. And that's the angle.